The teacher was standing over us, furious. The midday sun shone brightly in the sky directly behind her, but even through the glare of the sun, the glare in her eyes was stronger. I was crouched under the play structure with 2 other boys. What we were about to do was forbidden. I thought we had been so careful, surely no one had seen us, as they pulled a secret out of their pockets. Pokemon cards. This seems to be what you may deem a core memory for me. I can still see it clear as day in my imagination. I was to be an impartial third party in this brokered deal to ensure fairness, and I was probably also supposed to be a lookout. Whoops. I still even remember the 2 cards they were trading. It was a Bellsprout for a Gloom. Tommy was definitely not getting a good deal. Maybe it's for the best that the teacher broke it up. While this is not my earliest memory of Pokemon, this is one of my favorites from my childhood. You see, Pokemon had jumped the Pacific Ocean and made its way to the United States in a major way. In Japan, they had a snowball of popularity, with Pokemon Red and Green first releasing in February of 1996, the first cards being released in the same year in October, and then finally the first anime adaptation in April of 1997. Back in those days, we never received Japanese media in a timely manner, so in America it hit us all at once. The premiere of the first episode of the show and the release of the games Red and Blue, and in September 1998, just 20 days apart, followed soon after by the first demo release of the cards in that same year. By 1999, Pokemon had American kids in a chokehold, and no amount of school bans could persuade us otherwise. Since Pokemon was not a homegrown phenomenon, there were shortages which only intensified the desire for the games and the cards. This was common at the time. I remember news stories about people going Ultra Instinct to get their hands on the Tickle Me Elmo toy around that time too. My first experience playing a Pokemon game was a little later than others because my first handheld system was the Game Boy Advance. My very first game was Pokemon Blue. I most definitely caught all 150 Pokemon and still have the cartridge for posterity's sake. I stayed up past my bedtime under the covers with my snake light attachment on my purple translucent Game Boy Advance, trying to level up my favorite 6 Pokemon. I won't tell you everything I remember about Pokemon at the time, or we would be here all day. But I will say the pinnacle of my Pokemon experience was Diamond and Pearl. That's the one I spent the most time on. As a teenager, me and my friends all traded Pokemon and walked our eggs together. This was also the time that I got into the Pokemon League. My friends and I met every Saturday morning at our local card shop and battled the day away. Each participant had a stamp card. A win would get you 2 stamps, while a loss would only get you 1. I may or may not have been the last to get my badge, but I still have it. To this day, I have such a strong fondness and nostalgia for Pokemon. If I see anything cool with a Psyduck or a Gengar on it, I'll immediately click add to cart. The last iteration of the game I truly played was Pokemon X and Y, and I don't keep up with the shows and movies, but it still holds such a special place in my heart. Why is that? Come with me today as we explore the power of Pokemon. If you clicked on this video, there's something about Pokemon that resonates with you too. I have a theory about this. I think one of the biggest reasons people love Pokemon is because people love collecting. The founder and creator of Pokemon, Satoshi Tajiri, was an avid bug collector as a child. He would explore hidden areas in nature around his village, bringing his discoveries to school and showing them off to his classmates. Later in life, when he became a game developer, he wanted to harness these feelings in a game. The thrill of hunting for something new and rare and adding it to your collection. Collecting is something folks universally experience. Even people who you don't think collect anything probably at the very least have a collection of something ordinary like Christmas ornaments, or family photos. Then there's people like me who possess the hoarder gene and collect basically everything. Figures, plushies, earrings, t-shirts, dogs, you name it. The thing that links both types of people is this theory. Psychologists attribute the desire to collect to a few different things. One is nostalgia. Even when you look at collectors who collect things from antique shops like toys, decorations, or furniture, most of the time the things that they choose to collect are things that either they could never have as a child or something that they did have that they want to revisit. Pokemon does this so extremely well in the way that the older generation Pokemon are included in the new generations of the game. I promise if today I picked up one of the new games to play, the most excitement I would get out of it would be running across a Nidoran or a Psyduck amid the unfamiliarity. Likewise, the game continues the feeling of nostalgia in its continuation of familiar battle mechanics and musical themes amidst novelty. The same thing is said for Pokemon Go. I remember during the beginning of Pokemon Go in 2016, everyone was outside playing, myself included, and I found myself out late at night after dark and someone yelled, "There's a Pikachu over there!" I ran with all my might because this was the first time I had seen one of the 150 Pokemon that I loved. I was over the moon when I caught it, jumping for joy. I didn't care that it was only a level 4 because it was a Pikachu. Something that all Pokemon fans can agree on is your favorite Pokemon says a lot about you. There's something about this that fits your personality in an unspoken way, but it also becomes a part of your personality, much like your favorite band or TV show. I'm sure we all know what an Eevee girl is like. Comment your favorite Pokemon below because I'm genuinely curious what some of your favorites are. Mine is so absolutely random you could never guess it in a million years. Go ahead, try. I bring up favorites to tie into the collection aspect of the games and merchandise. As I said earlier in the video, if something has one of your favorites in it, you're much more likely to add it to your cart virtually or in person. Imagine a plain black or beige messenger bag. Now imagine the same bag with your favorite Pokemon embroidered in the corner. I'll take 2, please. The next reason that psychologists theorize people collect is to build value in their lives, as a way of collecting assets. These assets help to add to your self-worth. I love how this theory can also apply to collecting things virtually. Virtual collection is something that emerged quickly and became an immediate facet of things everywhere. People now collect music, movies, videos, games, and even objects within those games like skins, weapons, or in this case, different species of Pokemon, or for those that are gluttons for punishment, shiny Pokemon. Virtual collecting is different from physical collecting because it takes away from the monetary value. You can't resell any of those things even if you wanted to, with rare exceptions. They do, however, add a certain value to your account or save file, and these investments still feel important to you, and in a way, they seem more personal. If I lost my Animal Crossing island, I would be absolutely sick. Or my YouTube videos. I can't touch them, I can't sell them, but they're still valuable to me. From the very beginning of the development of the second generation of Pokemon games, Gold and Silver, the lead developer Satoshi Tajiri wanted to include trading with the first games so they would never seem obsolete. He asked in an interview, why would you go through all of the trouble to catch and level up a Pokemon when you could simply connect and trade it from your previous game? I remember this remained in practice until the DS, and there were ways to trade your Pokemon into your newer games. This increased the sentimental value and usefulness of the older games, leading people to hold on to them longer and not resell them due to the nostalgia and usefulness. Now let's talk about collecting that can add monetary value. Trading cards. The pinnacle of nostalgia for many long-term fans. There was a huge resurgence in popularity of Pokemon card pack opening around 2020. TikTok Lives had a lot to do with that. Then we had celebrities getting into it as well. I never would have expected people to get so invested in how much money someone spent on a vintage first edition Charizard. This all goes back to the nostalgia and excitement for how you would have felt if you'd pulled that card back in the day and you had it to show off at the playground yourself. If you play the Pokemon card game, cards can have a sort of value that's similar in a way to the value of virtual items, where the item itself isn't nearly as important as the role it plays in your deck. I remember the first time I learned how to buy single cards online, and I thought to myself, those guys at the Pokemon League are going down when I get those cards in the mail. I'm sorry to report that that was not the case, and I continued on my one stamp journey to the Boulder badge, and I never got my Leaf badge. It doesn't matter how cool your cards are if you don't know how to use them. I digress. The feeling is the same, as the value is being added to the greater whole. While there's a possibility to resell the cards, if you're playing with them, you're probably just collecting them too. In an essay written by Richard Bartle, he groups gamers into 4 categories. Achievers, who are always seeking treasure or achievements. Explorers, who enjoy digging around for information. Socializers, who enjoy the time they spend with other players. And finally, killers. I don't think I need to explain that one. I can easily name 10 games that would appeal to each of these archetypes, and I know exactly which category I would fit into, but I would struggle to come up with many games that appeal to all 4 types of players the way that Pokemon does. It has gym badges for achievers, caves and wilderness for explorers, trading and battling for socializers, and the fun of defeating legendary Pokemon and gym leaders for killers. Now that I think of it, I've never met a gamer who disliked all the Pokemon games that they'd ever come in contact with. They all have at least one that they played growing up. Have you ever heard a gamer say, I don't really care for any Pokemon games? From the 1997 interview with Pokemon's creator, it's obvious that this was his intention from the beginning. He wanted people to be able to play the game in all sorts of different ways. An example he gave is that some people will will continue to level up their Pikachu but never evolve it to keep it looking cute, while others may feel the need to evolve it into a Raichu. He was so invested in the idea of making each player's experience with the game different that originally he wanted there to be 65,000 different versions of the game, and each player to have a unique world in comparison to their friends. In the end, he settled for 4 versions of the game: red, green, blue, and yellow. He was also very inspired by the social aspects of gaming. The idea for the Pokemon game came to him when he considered the possibilities of the Game Boy's link cable. It had only been used thus far for competition with your friends, but he thought it would be great if it were used to trade among friends, much like Menko, a trading card game he grew up playing. The idea came to him when playing a Dragon Quest game with his friend, and his friend had 2 rare hats, and Satoshi Tajiri wanted one of those hats and wished there was a way to trade for it. A universal experience among gamers is the feeling of becoming so immersed in a game that time simply melts away. Developers try their best to achieve that feeling among their player base, and many use psychology to do so. The psychology of motivation and flow. Pokemon harnesses these psychological concepts perfectly. Flow is the cause of the time melting away when you're immersed in a task. If something is too challenging, it becomes frustrating. If it's too easy, it becomes boring. When the difficulty matches the person's skill level, they can enter a flow state. You could call it the just right challenge. Being in flow is a wonderful feeling because when in this state, our brains are typically releasing dopamine, which keeps us feeling rewarded and engaged in the task. There's a bit of a downside to being in a flow state, and that's when you may look up from your game and realize it's 4 a.m. When did that happen? When thinking about the Just Right challenge and how it applies to the Pokemon games, considering the old generations, I don't think it applies quite as much with the new games. The challenge is always kept at a reasonable level, and you're never beaten so badly that you don't want to get back up and try again. The mechanics of fainting and restoring your Pokemon at the Poké Center allow for endless opportunities to try again. Games also do a good job of keeping you fenced in so you can't go beyond your depth too early. It does so by employing things like HM moves and the routes that you may only take using a bicycle. The psychology of motivation is interesting. The 3 main components are internal motivation, external motivation, and humans' innate interest and desire to complete unfinished tasks. The internal motivation we see in Pokemon games comes from the desire to experience the dopamine release, and if you're like me, the desire to hang out with your cute digital friends. The external motivation comes from the various Pokemon gym badges and other achievements you may amass along the way. When it comes to unfinished tasks, I don't think this is quite as strong as in other games such as Animal Crossing, Fallout, or Pikmin, but it's still there. The primary one that comes to mind for me is I have to make it to the next Pokemon Center. In speaking about this topic, one psychologist said that an unfinished task creates a state of tension that's not resolved until the task is complete, and this can cause some amount of stress. This explains the one more effect. Just one more Pokemon Center, just one more battle, just one more level. There's another component to this called the effect that describes people that tend to go back to their unfinished tasks as soon as they can when interrupted. I don't think this is always the case for all video games, but it definitely is for Pokemon. If I get interrupted playing a sweaty game of Overwatch and I have to leave early, chances are I'm done for the day. However, if I have to close my DS to do something, you can bet I'm opening it right back up when I sit back down. All of these psychological concepts come together in harmony to make Pokemon the perfect game that you never want to put down. When the original team was creating the Pokemon for the first game, they had a rule that no Pokemon could be too cute or too cool. They always needed to be a balance of both to appeal to all players. Some Pokemon were definitely more cute than others, but they always had something unique and cool about them too. Take Charmander for example. He has the trademark cute features: big eyes, small arms and hands, and a cute, always smiling mouth. Keep him looking unique and cool, they also added a large dinosaur-like tail that just so happens to be on fire. That's pretty cool. Initially, it was easier for the team at Game Freak to think of cool Pokemon designs. The art director realized midway through development they didn't have enough cute Pokemon, so they hired the first woman to join the team, Atsuko Nishida. The addition of Nishida to the team turned out to be a wonderful success because she designed the Pokemon that would go on to become the world-famous mascot of the Pokemon Company, Pikachu. Not only did she design Pikachu, but also Bulbasaur, Charmander, Oddish, and several of the evolved forms of Eevee. And she even came back later to design one of the cutest Pokemon of the newer series, Minccino. They also brought her back to design variations of her Pokemon, including the Alolan Raichu and the Mega Charizard. The human brain is hardwired to be attracted to cute things. It's a biological function to make people want to care for their babies. As a result, the features we associate with cuteness are large eyes, big heads, squishy middles, and small hands. I can't say if they captured all of these features intentionally in the cute Pokemon, but they absolutely did. When we experience a cute stimuli, the parts of our brain that are associated with emotion and pleasure light up like a Christmas tree. This explains the rush of intense feeling you have when you see something that's just ridiculously cute. For me, that thing is puppies. It's a good thing that we have this reaction inherent in our brains for caring for babies, but dogs capitalize on it as well. I know it may sound like I'm getting into the weeds a little here, but trust me, I have a good reason for explaining this all to you. There's also science that can explain why we carry such a long-standing affinity for our favorite Pokemon. While we associate cuteness with that immediate reaction, there's also a longer-lasting connection that happens in the brain. After the initial response, the brain begins a slower, more long-lasting process with whatever caused the initial reaction. This longer lingering process is responsible for bonding that's needed for parenting or caregiving. If you're wondering, is she insinuating that Pokemon hijack your neurological processes in the same way that babies do? Yes, that's exactly what I'm getting at. All those years ago, when I saw a Pachirisu in the tall grass for the first time and I had that reaction of, oh my god, that's the cutest thing I've ever seen, led me to virtually care for it, level it to 100, use all my rare candies on it, and earn every possible ribbon at the super contest. This has also resulted in a lifelong affinity for this little electric squirrel, resulting in it earning a spot on my water bottle to this day. And that's not even my favorite Pokemon. Did you guess it yet? Probably not. The other component in Pokemon games that has the ability to seize power over our brains is the music. The themes for certain areas in Pokemon games remain constant or at least familiar throughout the games. The Pokemon Center theme is the best example because it stays the most constant, but many games have similar battle themes for their wild Pokemon too. Research shows that music has the ability to activate many parts of the brain all at once and causes a large release of dopamine. The songs we listen to during our childhood, adolescence, and early 20s have the greatest effect when listened to years later. We also know that the more often we listen to a song during those formative years, the more likely this effect will be. And let's be honest, especially when you were young, how many times did you hear the Pokemon Center theme when battling Pidgeys to level your Pokemon up? I could be down only 5 HP and I would still go heal my Pokemon. As a kid, I think I was under the impression that if all 6 of my Pokemon fainted, I would lose the game or something catastrophic would happen. Music has the greatest impact when we're teenagers, and when I was a young teen is when I got really into Pokemon Diamond and Pearl. Think about your favorite band from middle or high school. Chances are they still hold a special place for you, and you still jam out to them in the car from time to time. The neurological explanation for why this effect is so strong with music we listen to as teenagers has to do with our brain development. Due to our brain developing, forming, and changing the most during this time, the songs we listen to just stick. There is also a phenomenon where we recall memories from our teens and early 20s with greater clarity and strength than any other time in our life. This is called the reminiscence bump. Learning all of this, it's no wonder that these songs bring back a flood of instant nostalgia and warm fuzzies for many Pokemon fans. Throughout this topic, I have only been referencing the songs from the games, but all of the same factors apply to the songs from the shows as well. I would love to know, what is your favorite opening from the Pokemon shows? Comment down below. My favorite one was from Pokemon Johto. It gets me every time. When thinking back to the principles we just discussed, these songs all have the same qualities. We listened to them during those important years and we heard them countless times. I always hoped that someday I would be able to recite the Poké Rap. Understanding all of the psychological processes that underpin my love of the franchise really makes me appreciate how the original creators of Pokemon struck gold. Team at Game Freak were able to create a formula for success that would lead to so many more games, shows, movies, and merchandise that I'm sure any of them could have dreamed. Okay, now that the video is coming to a close, if you're still here, I will reveal to you my favorite Pokemon. Before I tell you, I wonder if you can guess it in 3 hints. This Pokemon is a 3rd evolution. This Pokemon is one of the original 150, and this one really gives it away. It's poison and ground type. Who's that Pokemon? It's Nidoqueen. My love for this Pokemon encapsulates all of the psychological themes that we have covered here. It all started with the cute factor. The first time I laid eyes on a Nidoran female, I was stricken with cuteness. I thought she was the best Pokemon for sure. Then I had the intrinsic motivation to level her up with the extrinsic motivation to unlock more moves and eventually evolve her. The extra work it took to eventually evolve her into a Nidoqueen by finding and using a Moonstone. I recall it seemed very difficult to make it to her final form. But once I did, boy oh boy, she can learn nearly any move. I have a set of moves that I always teach to my Nidoqueens to make them completely unbeatable. Dig, Surf, Flamethrower, Ice Beam. I went on to write a song about Nidoqueen in my first band. I had a Nidoqueen sticker on the pickguard of my guitar and the top of my pink Nintendo DS Lite. My affinity for the queen was unmatched. As someone who also values individuality, I loved that she wasn't anyone else's favorite Pokemon either. You can imagine my excitement when a few years ago I learned that you can get a plushie of any of the original 150 Pokemon on the Pokemon Center website. I didn't ever think there would be merchandise of her, so naturally, I bought all 3 evolutions and proudly displayed them on my bookshelf. Well, there you have it. All the things that make Pokemon stand out from other games and nestle a special place in our hearts for a lifetime. If you made it this far in the video, I really appreciate your time, and I hope you do something today that makes you happy. See you later. Bye!